So, what does a recruiter, a hiring manager, or HR person look for in your resume and LinkedIn profile? Hi, this is Jack Kelly with the WeCruitr Podcast, and today I'd like to talk just a little about what hiring managers, HR people, recruiters, and others look at when or want to see in your resume and your LinkedIn profile. Now, that sounds pretty straightforward. I'm sure most people say, I know, I've done resumes for years and I have a LinkedIn profile and everything is great. And maybe, could be, but here's from an insider perspective what they're looking for. And let's take the resume first. With a resume, people take so much time and effort and pay professional resume writers and ask opinions and check out what's the new fashion. You know, what kind of font do I use? Do I use all these cute little stuff on there? Do I make it? You've seen some of these resumes that it looks like a piece of art. You know, do I go in that direction? No, that doesn't really work. I think a lot of people are wasting money, and I am going to get a lot of hate mail and death threats from these resume writers, and I'm sure they're awesome. But at the end of the day, really, you have 10 seconds for someone to look at your resume. What they are going to look at is this. They're going to look closely to see, what do you do? What's your title? What are your responsibilities for this current job you're in? And they're going to scan it really quickly. Do you do X, Y, and Z? Do you do A, B, and C, 1, 2, and 3? Boom, 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 and they're checking it off. And what are they checking it off against? Is their job description, their requirements. So when you send a resume in or post it online, you want to make sure that it fits exactly, and if I'm not clear, exactly what the job description is asking for. So what does that mean? You don't have to have one. You could have 2, 3, 4 different types of, resumes. You could tailor them. You could have one standard, and then from there, you could tailor each one for the particular job at hand. So they're going to look, first thing they're looking at, title, what you do, responsibilities, but through the lens of, does it match what we're doing? Then they'll look to your previous job, same kind of thing. What were you doing? Was it relating to this job at hand? Then they'll kind of take a cursory scan down to the other jobs just to see, did you have 20 jobs in 20 years? Did you have, a job every 6 months? Are there long gaps in unemployment? They just want to get a feel for what kind of person. And they'll go to your school to see, hey, do you have a degree? What kind of degree? Is it relevant? What kind of school? And get a feel for it. But the real keys are matching up what you do, currently and what the job calls for. Let's just pop over to LinkedIn. With LinkedIn, what you really want to do is treat it kind of like a resume, but more dynamic. And in no particular order for this, when people look, and trust me as a recruiter, I do this all the time, you want a picture. Now, doesn't mean you have to be a great looking guy. I have my picture out there, not so good looking, adequate at best, maybe. I'll generously give myself a 6.5. So you don't have to be, you don't have to be George Clooney or Brad Pitt, but what I do think you have to do is have your picture so that you look like a nice, normal person who someone would want to call. Let me just say that again. You want to have a picture that makes people want to contact you. Most people don't do this at all. Now, why do you need a picture for someone to call you? Because it's human nature. As a recruiter, if I'm looking at someone's LinkedIn profile and they look angry, they look pissed off at the world, I still will call them at a job if they're good for it, but I'm going in with a preconceived bias. This person's going to be difficult. That being said, you don't want to have pictures of your sports team. You don't have to have a picture with your girlfriend's arm around you with her cropped out. Yes, we know you have a girlfriend. You don't have to show us that. You don't want to have a picture of your boat. You want to have a picture of your house, of your car, of your kids. A goofy picture of yourself. Some wacky picture. No, that's Facebook. That's something. That's not even Facebook, really. I mean, you want to have a nice, sharp, crisp picture that shows, hey, here's who I am, and look at me. I'm a really nice woman or guy, and if you contact me, it's going to be a pleasure talking with me, and you're going to have a really great experience. That's what you want to convey. Then, with the content of the LinkedIn profile, You want to make it like the resume, where someone could easily find what you do. Same thing as we talked about with the resume. What's your current title? What are your responsibilities? Do they relate to the job at hand that the HR person, the hiring manager, the recruiter is looking for? And you can always tweak it. That's the beauty. You can always change it up as you go along. Then the second role you had, the prior role, same kind of thing. What you did, your title. You want to also show progression, both in the resume and LinkedIn, that your career keeps kind of growing and you're not flatlining. That's a big thing what people look for. They want to get that person who's a fast tracker, going forward, moving forward with their career. And if they see somebody just flatlines, when you see in those hospital shows where they just beep, 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 they don't want to see that. Was that really annoying, that noise I made? Probably. It sounded really annoying as I was doing it. So they want to have somebody who is not flatlining. They want to have somebody who you could see. They started out of college and did this, and then the next job a little better, and then the next job even better, and then after that really awesome, cool, and keep going higher and higher. So they want to see that progression. That holds true for both the resume and for for LinkedIn. So I told you this was a really easy podcast today because these are some of the things that people labor on, they worry about, they stress, and it doesn't matter. All that's for nothing. It's all bullshit. The real deal is, at the end of the day, it's a marketing tool. You're selling yourself. You're marketing yourself. Yes, it sounds crass. I know. It sounds cynical. It sounds harsh. Boo-hoo-hoo. That's what it is. You have to make sure that you shine. There are hundreds, if not thousands of people competing against you for things. So how do you stand out? You want to have something. You want to market yourself. You want to sell yourself. And by using action words, by writing things that jump off the page that people say, wow, this person's dynamic, this person is smart, this person is motivated, and they have all the skills that I'm looking for. You don't want to just put in a very, well, I do this, blah, 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 and I do that, blah, 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 corporate jargon, buzzword, blah, blah, blah. No, they don't want it. Or they don't want those, whenever you see on a resume, just like, 2 words. It's like, you ever have a conversation with someone, how you doing? Good. How's the family? Okay. You don't have a resume or a LinkedIn profile the equivalent of that. You want to flesh it out. You want to, so people see what you do. They get what you do. They feel who you are as a human being. So you don't worry about the fonts. You don't worry about what's the newest, coolest thing. And you know who does that? People who write articles have no idea about recruiting or what's happening. They just feel, oh, I'm going to write about how important it is to have this font and you have this style. And then they'll have some kind of cockamamie name for the style and think that's really super cool. It's not. No one cares about that. Maybe, you know what? I stand corrected. I guess in certain industries, maybe, that are kind of very artistic, design-oriented, sure, that would make perfect sense. But in your typical boring corporate job that we're all in is, you want to have your jobs, your responsibilities pop out. You want to make them sound great. You want to sell yourself. When I'm doing this podcast, I'm not saying, here's what you do with the resume. Here's what you do with your LinkedIn. No, I try to have a little energy, a little enthusiasm. And that's how you want to write your resume. You want to make it pop so whoever's reading it says, wow, I want to meet this person. This person is great. I want to bring this person in here. Conversely, if you have something that it's like pulling teeth to find it, like, what exactly does this person do? I don't really understand it. I don't get it. Why is this gap here? It's unexplained. It doesn't make sense. Why? Like, this person had a few jobs in a row. There has to be a story behind it. Why didn't they kind of connect the dots? You don't want that. You want tight narrative that shows who you are, what you can be, why you're going to be an attribute to the company. If you have gaps in there, you try to cover it up. I'm not saying you lie about it, but you kind of tell a story around it. A true story. What happened? Reorganization, downsizing, job relocated. Yeah, we've all had bad patches in our career where there might be 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, that you're just out in the wilderness and you can't catch a break. People get that, but you got to make it sound good. You can't make it sound like, just a loser. So you have to write the resume that speaks to, puts a connection why that happened with a good explanation. So the person will go, huh, I get it. I've been there myself. In fact, I feel for the person. I'm going to call them in because I've been through a tough time and I really appreciate when someone gave me a break. I'm going to give that person a break. So this was a really easy one. This is like, probably one of the easier podcasts because everyone thinks it's so hard. So I purposely want to make it easy because I don't want you to stress over it. I don't want you to have anxiety over it. I don't want you to spend a fortune over it. All I want you to do is say, hey, I want to do job X. Does my resume match up with X? And is it easy to read? Does it flow? Make sure there's no grammatical errors, spelling errors. Believe it or not, people do that all the time. Make sure, I couldn't care less, but people do care. The grammar Nazis are out there. They care. Trust me. I write these articles for Forbes, and people can't wait to point out when I do something stupid, which so what? So, I have the wrong, whatever, big deal. But anyway, back to what we're talking about. So you want to have it so that it tells a narrative, who you are, what you're about, what you can deliver to the company. That's with a resume. And with a resume, 10 seconds. That's what they do. Scan it really quickly. With the robots at these companies, with their internal systems, you also, and I hate to say this, but you got to play the game. You have to put in the buzz. I'm contradicting myself what I said earlier. So I won't say buzzwords, but you want to put in the terms that are in the resume and that the company itself uses. So it takes a little homework because that's a different animal. That you're not seeing a human being. You're saying, some artificial intelligence, robotic nonsense is looking at it and processing. Does this person have, it's go beep, boop, 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 beep, boop, boop. Does this person have all the stuff I'm looking for? Does it have all the right words? If yes, I am putting it through. If no, I am not. So you got to make sure that you have all the stuff in there that will go right through those robots. And then once it goes to the robots, usually lately you have a very young person who's looking at it. And when I say young person, it's nothing disparaging or negative, just, usually they feel, hey, that person's going to then do a human eyeball screening to see, hey, does this person do it? So it has to be clear to him or her. And with the LinkedIn, it's not going through any scanners, but for that, same thing as a resume, except you want to have a good picture, clear, crisp, and you want to have the same thing as a resume, a good, tight narrative. And it even gives you more flexibility, on there. Now, bonus point here. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, clean it up. I know that's not your resume, but you want to have it as your brand. I'm sorry if you want to do all kinds of fun stuff on Instagram and all fun, and you want to yell with strangers about politics on Twitter, and you want to do whatever you want to do on Instagram. Yeah, that's great, but don't do it. Let's be honest. This is the real world. Grow up. This is your career. A good recruiter is definitely going to check you out on Facebook. They're going to check you out on Instagram, Twitter, because they want to see, who am I dealing with? Is this a psychopath or is this someone normal? Is this someone who, if I'm going to send over to a company, I have to worry, is this person, nuts? Or are they just argumentative? Or are they getting fights with people and arguing with people? Particularly strangers on the internet. So you want to have that narrative. It's not a resume, but you want your social media to talk to your brand. If you're an executive high-end, you want to be an executive high-end. That's how you want to put yourself out there. So what? So you don't do goofy shit on social media. Boo-hoo-hoo. All right, just don't do it. Well, at least don't do it while you're looking for a job. And then if you do it later on, just delete it. So you can have it on there, have your fun, but then get rid of it later. Don't have a trail. So again, it's not a resume, but that's what's going to happen. A person, they get your resume, hiring managers, resume's on their desk, right? They see it, they're like, this really matches, the job I have. Let me check out their LinkedIn. LinkedIn looks pretty good. And actually, we have some connections together. And what? We even went to the same school. So this guy is a genius. She is really intelligent. We went to the same school together. I like her. I liked him. And then the person's going to probably go on Facebook or Twitter and Instagram and, try to check them out. Not being a stalker, but just, want to see, hey, I'm really psyched about this person. I like them. They seem awesome. They seem to fit the job. Let me see. And then if you go on Twitter and you see, oh my God, they're just fighting with strangers all day long about politics. Oh my God, I do not want to deal with this in the office. That's the last thing I want. Someone's going to come in here and just make my life miserable, especially if, let's say, I don't agree with that person's political stance. I'll take a hard pass. I'd rather not have that. Similarly, if you look and on Instagram, Facebook, you see somebody constantly drinking and partying and doing crazy stuff, thanks. But no, thank you. I'll pass. I don't need the drama. I don't need that. I want someone to come in and do the job. I want someone, actually, you know what they want? They want someone boring. They want boring. They don't want someone who they have to worry is going to make them look bad, and their boss will say, why, Jack, did you hire this person? This person is difficult. They're missing work because they're drinking too much and partying too much and smoking too much weed. They disappeared during the day. What is wrong with you? Didn't you do your due diligence? There's not an upside for a hiring manager. There's only downside. So they want to protect their downside. So let me just recap. Real easy. Resume, 10 seconds. That's all it's going to take. So you have to make it jump, and you have to make it a marketing piece that really resonates. LinkedIn, same kind of thing, just add a picture to it, and it gives you a little bit more landscape to play with and tell a story. Social media, not your resume, but they're going to look, they're going to check it out, and you make damn sure that you're coming across the way you want people to perceive you. If you want to be perceived as smart, ambitious, motivated, someone trustworthy, that's how you have to look. Sorry, I'm interfering with your fun and shenanigans online, but that's what it takes. So I hope this was easy, and I hope it alleviated some concerns, because I know that people come to me all the time stressing out about the resume, and you don't have to. And stressing out LinkedIn, you don't have to. It's probably one of the easiest things to do if you follow those rules. If you follow these rules, I am telling you, you will get noticed, and you will get interviews, and you will do well. If you do not follow them, it's not going to work. So thank you for listening to Jack Kelly and the WeCruitr Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day. Bye.